Good evening, everyone. This is Niyi Adewole with the Ekabo Home Financial Freedom Mastermind podcast. I am your host, and I'm super excited to be joining you this Wednesday and to be able to just talk to kind of the group and see what everybody's working on. This is going to be an open session, and yeah, let's kick this thing off. So if anybody is on and wants to join, feel free to go ahead and click in to the chat, ask any questions, and go ahead and join live. This is upcoming the last week to go ahead and book your ticket for the meetup that we're going to be having next Friday at 6:30 in Buckhead, where Ricardo from the One Broker is actually going to be flying out to Atlanta. It's going to be his first time in town, and I'm going to be there as well. And we're hosting an event up in Buckhead where there's going to be food, networking, and a lot of other investors around the area will be pulling in. So if you have not booked it already, please feel free to reach out for the link or go ahead to ekabohome.com and you'll be able to see the link there for tickets. We look forward to seeing you there next Friday, and I'm excited to connect and be able to network with a few other investors as well.
How you doing?
Dwayne, I am good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Glad to be on another podcast, another Wednesday with you guys. But I'm assuming when you said those fires, I'm guessing it's dealing with some properties you got going on.
Hey, come on now. It's always doing that, but the thing that helps, and I know Alpha just dropped a question in the chat, and he knows I say this all the time, is you got to see the forest from the trees, right? So if you get caught up in the day to day and you start thinking like, man, like, there's a bunch of HVACs getting called and all this other stuff, right? It can really start to weigh on you. What you have to
Gotcha.
do is take a step back and see the forest from the trees. And so I'm constantly telling my clients as well as myself, like, hey, just take a step back. Are you happy with that house you bought 5 years ago? Absolutely. It's gone up in equity like crazy. Now I don't get anything from that one. And so this one, which is a new house, is going to become the same and even better. So it's daily motivation.
Gotcha. Well, in terms of questions, the one I have, and this for anybody in the group as well, because, well, you know me, I'm trying to get my first short-term rental and Airbnb it. I would like to know what kind of apps, whether free or paid for, you feel is helpful in automating your short-term rental in terms of the cleanup after the client leaves or checking in, or which apps you feel are helpful in that, I guess, managing portion of your short-term portfolio.
Dwayne, this is an amazing question. Myself and many others who will join here shortly can go on for a long time about it. So, first and foremost, the app that I use the most, I would say, is Hospitable.
Okay.
Um, and I think we talked about it before, but that's like a guest experience manager app, and that allows you to automate most of your messages. And so when somebody books our Airbnb, we have an after check-in message, we have a before check-in message. Hey, here goes parking instruction message. We have a first morning after the check-in message. We have a checkout message and a review request message. All of that's automated. Before
Okay.
Hospitable or systems like that, you used to have to remember to send all these messages. And it's cool when you have one Airbnb, but once you start to get to two, three, four, five, six, it's going to be hard to keep up. And so we automate that whole portion. And so each guest has exactly what they need from that perspective. Not to mention, it also integrates with Slage and August Lock. So when somebody books through Airbnb, VRBO, or any other site, it automatically creates a code for that guest that's only going to work during the time that they're staying there. And you can put it in one of those automated messages to send it out before they get there. So they get their code. So that's one thing. And it also links with cleaners, and you can create a calendar for them and send alerts to cleaners. And I use this all the time now. We have local cleaners that we use, but also a company that we use, and we kind of split our units between them. And so for the company, all we do is put the calendar into the company site and they're good to go. But for our local cleaners, we set up text message reminders, and it actually sends messages to them. And the reason I ended up actually paying for Hospitable is because I had an instance where I was out and about, doing my thing. I had like, I don't know, I think 3 units at the time. And I completely forgot that there was a guest that decided to extend. And then I didn't alert the cleaner that, hey, this guest is going to extend. And then they're going to check out on this date. I never confirmed the next date that they're going to check out. And
Right.
so the next guest arrived and the house wasn't cleaned. And it was like a whole like, oh man, this is terrible. I had to send back funds, get the cleaner out there, things of that nature. And that weekend, I was like, you know what? I need to get a system that's going to help me not forget this until hospitable. I can't rave about it enough, but that's the first one.
Hospitable, okay. Gotcha. And that when you say it integrates with that code, it's for like the lock on the front door, that particular like is it the lock, whatever brand the lock use, it works with that app.
Correct. And to that
Oh,
point, right, when you talk about the locks, there's really two that are the most popular in this industry. One is the Slage on code. I like that one because the battery life is pretty long, and it just has been less finicky for me. The
oh,
other is August Lock. Slage requires you to replace the whole lock on the door. And August Lock is able to integrate with the same lock that you have on the door. It just changes out the back so it can automate it. But both of them work. Both of them integrate. I've just found that once we started to expand, we started out with August Lock. And once we started to expand, August Lock battery was dying like once a month at
oh,
different properties. So I'm driving around like, all right, we got to switch out batteries. Whereas the Slage Lock lasts roughly 3 months. And it's like, okay, you can kind of forget about it.
okay.
Now, as far as a couple other pieces, and then I'll get to Alpha's question about the market here. When you look at like the adjusting of the prices and things of that nature, there's some people that use price labs, others use beyond pricing. I don't know if one is better than the other. I personally use beyond pricing because that's the first one that we found. And now we've got all these properties, it's kind of like, all right, let's just keep using that. But you definitely want to use a system like that and not use Airbnb's smart pricing, because Airbnb smart pricing is incentivized by Airbnb to price your property lower so that it can, generate more views and get more people
Right.
booking and kind of help them out. Whereas the dynamic pricing actually takes into account all the other units, whether it's Airbnb, VRBO, hotels that are getting booked up in the area, and it'll raise or drop your price based on the demand for that time frame.
Okay. Thanks a lot, man.
Of course. Did that help?
Yep. Helped a lot.
Done and done. And Alpha had a question in the chat asking about the market. How is the market? And it's actually pretty crazy. So everybody knows that the Fed raised the interest rate again. I want to say it was last week, last Wednesday. They raised it by a quarter point. But all indications are saying, hey, this is probably the last raise, at least for a while, and that they'll hold steady. And I hope that's true. With that raise, interest rates went up slightly, but I think so many people have been held back for so long that during this spring and summer buying season, which is typically when most buyers come out in the first place, it's still pretty active, right? I can tell you that we're putting offers on different properties that are getting snatched up quickly. I personally just got pre-qualified for getting another house hack, and I put an offer on a duplex. Was it yesterday? It was like a couple days ago. I was the first one in. Like I saw it, first one in. I went 40K over asking because it's fully renovated. I like the duplex. Did not get it. We'll put it like that. The person that got it went with no due diligence and no appraisal contingency, which I wasn't willing to do. I was like, hey, I'm giving you X amount over asking. Hopefully that'll be enough. But I get it. From their perspective, I would have went with the other offer too. And so for the homes that are fixed up and renovated, right? Especially ones that have another income suite, whether it's a single family with the in-law suite or it's a duplex, triplex, quadplex. These homes are getting snatched up quickly and without regard to really anybody, because there's a lot of people trying to pour into that Atlanta market. And during the summer and spring is historically when it starts going up anyway, right? Across the country. And so we are seeing that heating up. And I think if interest rates drop from, I think right now they're sitting around 6.3 for a personal loan. If they were to drop to, say like 5, 6, right? Another 0.75 points at some point this year, I think it's going to continue to go through the roof. But what else you got? Anything else from the chat, and or do others want to join online? This is an open session tonight, so we are just chopping it up. And Dwayne, on a complete side note, how is the real estate school coming, man?
Man, it's going good. I start on Monday. So I start on Monday. It goes from Monday to the end of June. So end of June I should be done with the class portion, then take the test and move on to the state after that. And yeah, so
Nice.
yeah. I
That'll be
think I'm
fun.
more of a in class person. Maybe I'm a little old school, but I think a class I stay more focused than just online.
I'm with you. And fun fact, like, so I got licensed down here and I did it online just because I was working at W2. I was like, hey, I need to be able to kind of do this on our own time. But the first time I got licensed was in Philly back like when I just graduated college, and I did that in person. And in person is much easier because the teacher's there. You've got other people that are learning alongside you. You're kind of doing quizzes on each other, so it's solid for learning the content. That being said, after you get your license, please forget all of that because it doesn't help from a point.
Gotcha.
Our point is not going to jail and doing something illegal. But as far as like, hey, how do you do real estate sales? You just need experience in the market and kind of working with people like that.
Gotcha. So I'll rewire after I'm done. I'll rewire.
That's the
Yeah.
test, and then rewire. That's the key.
All right.
That is fair. That is fair. What does anybody else got? Please drop any questions in the chat and or join live. We are both here to answer and kind of entertain any questions. On a side note, Dwayne, I need to forward you an invite. You just reminded me.
Okay.
We're having another build day some point this month, so I'll forward that to you to see if you can make it.
Perfect. Thanks. Thanks. Oh, and I already got my tickets for May 19th. I'm definitely coming to see you talk, man. Gotta
Yo,
support.
yo,
Gotta support.
hey, I appreciate it. It's gonna be fun. I was just talking to Ricardo yesterday about a couple items, and he's pumped about it. It's gonna be his first time in ATL, so he
Okay.
is coming out. I think he's gonna be in town on Wednesday because we just got to go see the venue and make sure they set it up right. And then
Okay.
Friday, we're gonna have the food getting catered in and kind of make it happen, man. So it'll be
All
fun.
right, man. All right. It's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. No, it's gonna be good. It is going to be good.
Yep.
We got another question in the chat. When do you lower your price on new listings in Airbnb if you're not getting as much traction as you'd like? I'm still open for this weekend and
Mother's
Monday,
Day weekend, I think.
Mother's Day weekend. Okay. And
Mhm.
Mother's Day weekend. Thank you.
Yeah, got you.
No listings on the books currently. Yeah, it is Mother's Day weekend. Yep. After the current guests leave at the end of this week. Go ahead, Dwayne.
Oh no, I'm saying, yeah, I was like, I almost forgot that. I can't miss that one. Yeah.
Yep. Dude, I have so many reminders on my phone. It will probably. Hey, we're gonna get that one together. Can't forget that one. Yeah. So you should be using dynamic pricing, right? And I would always try to look at what your lowest is, as far as like your low, like the lowest you would take. And I usually set that to what's the lowest I would take for a during the week booking, and I just leave it there. Now for weekends like Mother's Day weekend, it should get booked. Now people are starting to book later and later, so you may want to just hang tight for a little bit. But what I would say is right now it's Wednesday. If it hit, say, like 3, 4 p.m. tomorrow on Thursday and Friday through Sunday is not booked or Friday through Monday is not booked, I'd go ahead and take it down by like 10% or like 15%. And you can do that in beyond pricing and or in hospitable where you just highlight some of those dates and lower the price by X percent. And typically it'll drive some traction for that. And I know that this question's coming from a newer B&B. And so you want to make sure you can build up some reviews and have at least 3 reviews per listing so that you can get that to show up on your listing and people will choose yours over others. I can tell you that we manage a bunch of units and 2 of the newer ones that we took on, one of them just now got to, hey, 3 reviews after a bunch of stays because not everybody reviews. And so now you can see all 5-star ratings on it, and the traffic's picking up on that, starting to get booked out pretty quickly. And so that's kind of what I would do. I would hang tight until tomorrow at about like 3 or 4 p.m. and then make an adjustment on that price by a percentage, maybe 10 to 15%, and see if that starts to elevate the traffic. But do not let go of your standards. Keep the standards that you have, making sure people have reviews, things of that nature. But weekends should get booked up. Dwayne, anything else from you, man?
Oh man, I'm trying to think as I go. Not because we're still on the Airbnb topic. Is there? I've been looking at little checklists online that they'd say about it costs about 4,000 per room to start per room, depending on if you have a 2, 3 bedroom, whatever it is you pick. But they were saying generally they go with white color towels and sheets, I guess. I guess that looks more, I guess, hotel industry, I guess, versus like a darker color. I didn't know that those little details help, make the experience that much better for the guests, but I wouldn't have thought about picking all white versus, like a blue or like a green or something, but
It's true. It's true. And it's one of those, just to address that straight up, it's you just got to ask yourself like, hey, if you walked into a hotel room at Marriott and you saw green sheets or gray sheets or black sheets, what would you think? You'd be like, man, is this place clean? We can't even bleach this, So from that standpoint, yeah, with towels and sheets, I don't even play around with it. We go all white because it's been bleached. People can see, and we can throw it away if there's like stains or something that are starting to
Got
occur.
you. Got you.
But as for comforters, I used to do all white comforters, and I got away from that quickly. Like all white comforters, you'll be spending money trying to replace those. And so now we
Okay.
typically do colored comforters that just look real fluffy and nice in pictures. And then as
Got you.
backups, we do quilted comforter sets because they're more durable, they're a little bit lighter, and they allow you to kind of keep it longer, right? It's not as hot, it's not as like comfy looking, but we use that as our backups to the comforters because they last a lot longer.
Gotcha. I see another question coming in from Kareem.
Yep. So I'm stuck in East Point permits. They need a business license to get the SDR permit and an STR permit to get the business license. So it sounds like a roundabout. Like you,
A
like you
catch
kind
22.
of, yeah, that's a little bit of a roundabout. And I guess my question is, so when I was going through the STR process initially, right, it was right when they started coming out with the rules and right when they were trying to start enforcing it. The one thing I did that truly helped me and the other owners, including one of our owners who doesn't live in Georgia, who was able to get a permit through a Georgia-based LLC. Don't ask me how, but he was able to do that. Was I found a contact in the office and called them. Right, like if you keep exchanging emails and trying to go online and submit stuff, it can be a little bit difficult. But if you're able to find a contact and or call the office until you get somebody on the phone, I actually still have the person saved in my phone. I hope he still works there, but was able to call that person and actually get their cell. And we had conversations like, hey, da 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 da. Okay, I need to send this document in. All right, what if I do this? How do I do that? So I'd recommend just trying to find like an individual. It's the same thing that you would do, if you had issues with, I don't know, your phone provider or your internet provider or your car. They have those automated services online, but you want to find a way to get to a person because they barely know what's going on either, and they will help you turn in the documents. I started not even uploading on there. I was just emailing back and forth with him, and he was handling it on the back end to get it going. So I just look for an actual contact.
Yeah, man. Human interaction is way better than machine. Like
Dude, yeah, and now more than ever, now we're getting this AI stuff is getting real. Like everybody is starting to integrate it with just about anything.
right.
To
Chat
now,
GPT in business.
Chat GPT, yeah. To now, like even when you look at listings for B&B or like it's legit going to take some jobs away because you don't actually need like a marketer to kind of write your listing for you. You can just put, hey, here goes a couple notes and just have this thing created and then edit it from there. And it's only going to get better because literally ChatGPT is only be available to the public for what, 5 months? And it's
Yeah.
already doing, you know, changing the world. We'll put it like that.
Yeah. My cousin, he's a lawyer in England, and he says he uses the paid, I think the paid version. There's going to be like a free and a paid version. I think he's testing the paid beta version, whatever, and he used it to write a bunch of his contracts. He said it cuts down his time like tremendously.
And he's still charging the same amount, man. That's crazy.
Yep. Yeah.
That's, but he's got the degree. It's one of those things where it's legal. I
Right.
don't mess with it. I don't. There's a couple things I won't negotiate. Legal's like, all right, man. It's fine. Let's just get it going. That's awesome. That is awesome. No, and I'm excited for when it's going to be able to help us with like market research. I think you got to probably get the paid version because the unpaid version is data up to 2021 or September
Right.
of 2021. I think the paid version has data like ongoing, kind of like Bing's AI, Bing chat. So I need to look into it because honestly, it would help with some of the market research because we're looking at a lot of different markets now. And I think it could pull a lot of the data a lot quicker than you could kind of scanning, the US Census records and things of that nature. Being able to
Mhm.
just ask it a question and have it pop up, that's like next level stuff.
I know, man. I tested it out the other day because I'm writing those kids books, so I just decided to typed a few family member names and tell them to write a touching, 2 paragraph, I guess, dedication page or whatnot. And man, I was like, whoa, this chat is like made me want to cry. Like I'm like, this is amazing. Like,
Yeah, no, one of the things I was, thinking about like way back, well before AI and stuff like that, is writing kind of a book about finances and about like getting started in corporate world and then how to transition over to kind of the 1099 world. And yeah, ChatGPT would make it so much easier. All you got to do is kind of like, you know, get the thing on your phone and maybe you
yep.
just voice talk into it. There used to be companies that would do this where you talk to them and then they'd write it for you, just voice talk
Hmm.
into it and say like, hey, make this more, just like you said, emotional, things of that nature, and boom, you've got a whole book.
Yep.
Yeah,
Great.
it's incredible, man. It is incredible. But what do we got? Any more questions or anybody else have anything that's on your mind? I know my main focus right now is one, helping clients. We got a couple closings this week and next week, and two, securing a property as well, man. It's hard out in these streets. So now,
And man, it is. It is. I'm trying to break in that first one, man. But I'm not gonna give up.
dude. But the thing that I keep thinking about, and I listen to a lot of different podcasts and read a lot in between, like when I'm traveling, things of that nature. All I'm doing is listening to podcasts and reading, and all arrows are pointing to owning hard assets over time, right? And I think we all
Mhm.
knew about this, but the way that inflation took off and the way that it can take off again if we start to lower the interest rates and things of that nature, and you start to think about the money supply that's out in the world and other countries talking about potentially, not using the US dollar as heavily as they do and forcing those dollars to kind of come back into the US, it all points to, hey, I want to get as many hard assets as I can that will fluctuate with any potential inflation of the dollar as we continue moving forward, right? And so for me, I'm definitely at least going to acquire, 1 to 4 units each year, along with the project that we have out in Kentucky. That's going to be like the big gain, but I'm planning to in Atlanta acquire at least 1 to 4 units each year using the house hack, putting less than, 20%, putting, 10, 5, and 3.5% down. And then also potentially buying another investment along the way as well.
And those units you're thinking more short or long term?
I want a mixture of both, right? So what I focus on in Atlanta mostly is neighborhoods. I want to be in the best neighborhoods, ones that are going to appreciate over time because it gets you a lot of capital and the biggest bang for your buck. And although it may not cash flow right now, you can short term rent it, that'll cash flow it. And then in the future, the rents continue to increase. You can rent it out for a lot more. So I'm more focused on the neighborhood and then the strategy of, hey, what would I do with this? Like that duplex I lost out on was in Smyrna and it was listed for I want to say like 580, right? I came in 40K over. Now I asked for a full 3% toward closing, right? So it's not a full 40K, but there's some give
Right.
and take. I wanted to be able to get that 3% to not come to closing with anything but the down payment, and then also use the real estate commissions to knock down the interest rate even further to where I was getting, interest of last year. So I was like, okay, this is all going to work out. And that house was going to be a short-term rental on both sides at least
Okay.
for 2 years or so, and then potentially move to long-term rental as the rents continue to increase. But it didn't work out, so I'm still on the prowl. I'm still watching and waiting.
In terms of Atlanta, I guess since I'm still new here, I don't know the area as much. Do you think focusing within that 285 circle is a good strategy, or you should try to broaden your horizon a little bit more to like out of the 285 circle?
Man, that's a great question. I think first it depends on what you're pre-approved for, and then your goals, right? So
Mm.
within the 285 section, I mean that's quote unquote proper Atlanta. That being said, I'm starting to get excited about some of the ancillary parts, right? Like when you look at the Decaturs, the Smyrnas, the Mariettas, even like up to the Kennesaws, the Hatevilles, you'd be
Right.
surprised what opportunities are just right around the corner. And I like
Mm.
going into markets that are adjacent to others. For example, I'm big on Decatur because Decatur is one step over from East Atlanta and East Atlanta Village, which is highly sought after, right? I own a couple properties here, and those have been going up like crazy. And so I look at Decatur, it's Emory's home. You are literally the same distance to Midtown. It's like, okay. And the prices aren't as crazy. I'm like, hey, this makes a lot of sense. When I look at Marietta, the reason I'm big on that is if you buy in the right area, you could be 15 minutes or less to the Battery in Vinings, which is almost impossible to buy in, right? You're buying 800,
Right.
900K in the Vinings. and Smyrna is getting up there too. And so I like looking at those that are near kind of the areas that people want to be, but also slightly away to where you can get a little better value,
Okay. Gotcha.
if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But guys, how are the prices? How are the prices? So I'm assuming you mean prices of the homes right now. So the ones that are fixed up in West Midtown. So West Midtown is booming. West Midtown is booming. I know you're excited about that area. I am too. And honestly, earlier this year, there was a house hack that I missed out on because I didn't have my taxes done. It was dope. It was literally 10 feet off the belt line. You walk off the driveway, 10 feet to the west side belt line. Yeah, I definitely would have bought that all day. It was only listed for like six something. But long story short, in West Midtown, the houses that are fixed up are going pretty quickly and it's at a high rate, right? Now, I've always been looking for more house hacks and things of that nature out that way. I'm not seeing a whole lot pop up right now, but then again, we're just now entering the summer, and summer is when most people will list. So hopefully there'll be a bit more. Thank you. Yeah, Robbie, we're excited about it, man. Please let us know. I listed on Peerspace and I haven't been as active with it in full transparency, but I listed like a couple units on there like a year and a half ago. And I did get one or two bookings from there. Actually converted one over to Airbnb. Somebody that was looking to do a brunch in the backyard because we had a big backyard at one of the properties. And so I convert them over. I said, hey, you just got to book it on Airbnb, and then we're going to charge you additional $75 per hour for the event itself. So the event was maybe 4 hours. And so they booked it for that weekend, and then we charged them the, 75 times four, $300 extra on that piece for it. Yep. Yeah, it's definitely more about aesthetics and or space. I have a friend in Chicago that's doing the Peer Space piece and Gigster, and they're doing it heavy, and they're actually doing it in a place that resembles like a warehouse, and they have artwork in there, and it kind of makes sense for them. But you definitely want a place that's a little bit more unique and or a lot of space. Like the one I mentioned was we had a huge backyard to where they literally brought a U-Haul truck with a bunch of tables, and it was like a legit brunch event that they were hosting, and so they did that, paid the fee and kind of went from there. Agreed. Agreed. So, mansion update. The owners just left, right? So they were here for the last week, kind of helping us with tightening up a couple things and putting a couple like different notices around and in helping with some pre-bookings. So we are planning to launch the mansion. The goal originally was the 19th of this month. It's been pushed back a little bit due to just the size of the place. And so our goal is to launch by June 1st, and we are moving rapidly. All the major pieces of furniture are in. Now it's just putting together a couple side tables, doing some maintenance things, and then really walking around and QR coding everything. Now, I think Kareem brought this advice before about, hey, writing instructions on like cabinets and all that stuff. And it's great advice. And for the mansion, due to the size of this place and to us maybe not being familiar with every single detail of it, we're actually going to do something a little bit different. We're bringing one of our guest experience managers in from Florida, and he is going to stay at the mansion for a whole weekend. And he's going to help us walk around and label everything. Anything that he doesn't know how to use, he's going to figure out how to use it and then record a video for that. And we're going to create a QR code off of that that goes to a private YouTube so that we can slap QR codes everywhere. And when you're walking around the mansion, you're going to be able to scan if you want to know how to use the stove, if you want to know how to cut the fireplace on, right? Things of that nature, right? Like, hey, how do I do this? Because there's a lot of nuances there. There's a lot of, we'll say, items I haven't seen in a while that are in the mansion, and so we're going to try to QR code everything and make sure that people can do that. And yes, it will go on Peerspace because it's going to be a unique concept. The owners are content creators, and so they wanted to turn it into a content creator's paradise where you are allowed to record commercial content for your TikToks, for your Instagrams, things of that nature. Because I wasn't attuned to this before working with them, but a lot of creators will go to different Airbnbs and try to record content and get in trouble for it because, they didn't get a license or they didn't ask for permission. And so this one's going to be expressly permitted to record what you want, but it's going to come at a price tag, right? And so people are going to be able to book this with their friends, do their content, and then kind of bounce.
I like that concept.
Yeah. It's definitely different. And this is like our first foray into luxury real estate because this
Yeah.
one's going to rent out for a minimum of about 1800 a night. But considering you could sleep about 16 people, it's not that bad, right? And it's 10,000
Yeah.
square feet. Like 18 people, it's not even going to feel like it. It's going to be like, hey,
Yeah.
where is everybody? Which is fine.
Is it in Atlanta, in Georgia, or is it?
Yeah, yeah, this is in Atlanta. It's 15 minutes to the airport.
Okay.
And I'll definitely talk more about this once we have it live. The main piece right now is
Nice.
sprint to the finish. We've got our operations manager doing a lot of the maintenance items and making sure we can get those going. And we've got a couple other parties kind of handling other minor things. And then once we officially get it fully ready to rock, then we're going to have a video team come in, record it, pictures taken, and then get this thing listed everywhere. What else you got, guys? Anything else that is top of mind? We got a couple more minutes. Yep. Thank you. And I actually will share this for those who may not have seen Alpha with the alley oop. So I'm going to share my screen here shortly. Okay. So we've talked about it before on here, but let me go entire screen. Okay. So you should see my screen here. But we talked about this before. But one of the deals that we're doing in Louisville, one of the reasons I left the W 2 is we are building self storage units, but also building 102 townhome units. And so the self storage is me and my realtor partner down there moving fast, saying, hey, we can take this one down. It's costed roughly $2 million to build this, but we're kicking in 20%, splitting that down the middle, and then we're getting the rest from the bank. And we already got that approved. So we're building the self storage. And what Alpha's referring to is we actually broke ground a little over a month ago, and all the dirt that was taken. It was about 2,000 truckloads, and we actually became dirt salesmen over the last week. You wouldn't believe how much people would pay for topsoil dirt that used to be agriculture. And so we literally had somebody over the weekend, and we've had a couple other people bid on it, but somebody over the weekend was taking truckloads away at $70 per load. If you do 70 times 20, or 70 times 2,000, sorry, it's roughly $140,000, right? And we've got other people that are building a little bit higher. And so this selling of the dirt is going to actually help cut down how much me and my partner have to actually put into this. So if you think about it, 20% of 2 million for the build is 400K. Now with this equaling 140K, we only got to bring 260 to the table, split that in two. It's not that bad. And now we kind of know that for when we're looking to do the townhomes, which we're looking to break ground in the townhomes in August. So the self storage should be done by the end of July. They're moving pretty quickly, and self storage is pretty easy. There's not any piping for plumbing, things of that nature. It's just rinse and repeat. You're literally putting up like containers, kind of, and building it out with cement block. So that'll be pretty smooth. And then the townhomes, we're looking to break ground in August and kind of kick that one off. So we've already had investor calls with. I just had one earlier today with like 6 individuals, right? And we've got a couple more lined up. And so we're just cranking them out, getting the concept out there, and we're starting to have our round two of meetings to actually secure the investment and make sure we can get this thing going.
Nice.
But guys, last topic, anything else from you, Dwayne, or anyone else before we wrap for tonight?
What about? Can't think of anything on the top for me.
Hey, that is fair. That is fair. One thing I would leave everyone with, right, is it's amazing to be able to jump into real estate and start investing, and you can see how long term this can change your life and build wealth. But the first step, in my mind, that you've got to think through is just your personal finance, right? You've got to think through, hey, how am I going to continue to save? How am I going to continue to increase the gap between what I earn and what I spend on a monthly basis? And one of the best ways you could do that is just by tracking it. So one of the things I used to do, and I don't look at it as much anymore, but I probably should, is like Mint. Are you familiar with Mint, Dwayne?
I've heard about it. Yep, I heard about Mint. Yeah.
So Mint is cool because you can link all your accounts to it, including your investment accounts, your bank accounts, and just anything else you got. And it will give you like an automated breakdown of, hey, here goes your net worth, quote unquote, and here goes how much you're spending on a monthly basis. And so I used to use that to break down kind of how much I was spending and make a game of trying to increase that gap however I could so I can go and get more real estate. And then over time, that shifted into kind of the profit first model, which we've talked about here before, where now every single dollar that comes in, I have things down to a percent. You can see it's actually like right here, like so. I got my little cheat sheet. So
Right.
I have a bunch of different bank accounts, and it doesn't matter if it's $1 or $1,000. When it comes in, I just look at the percent, break it down, and split it out to all the bank accounts. So now I know what my profit account is, which is like the quote unquote fun account, my investing account, the family account, the operating account for day to day expenses, and then the tax account. Right. So a couple different accounts. It helps. Definitely helps.
So you can set up different, I guess, accounts in Mint, and you can link whenever you get paid, link it to it goes to all the different accounts you have set up on there.
Well, these are two different things. Sorry. So Mint is just to track like your net
Okay,
worth and to track all your accounts. But within any bank that you're using, I would recommend setting up separate accounts. Like I have, the Bank of
gotcha.
America account where most of my stuff comes into, but then I got a Capital One account where it's like for investment savings. So I just anything goes up there just stays there and kind of gets the 3% or 4, whatever the interest rate is until I'm
Right,
ready to buy something. So for
gotcha.
example, when I get something under contract, I need earnest money, I'll transfer it down from there and wire it to them or just wire from there. But yeah, I use separate bank accounts to kind of dictate where the funds are going. And it makes it
Gotcha.
so much easier when you get into the habit of doing this, man. It doesn't matter if you get like the biggest check in the world or even like a tax refund check. This year, it was crazy. I actually got money back, which was awesome. I paid like the lowest I've paid in years, and then they sent me some money back. So I don't know where the disconnect was there. But long story short, even with that tax refund, I just split it up by the percentages that I have written down. So it's like, hey, this is exactly what I'm going to do. And I kind of sent it out and made it happen from there.
All right. I'm gonna check into that. Mint. I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course. But Dwayne, I appreciate you. Everyone
Oh,
else, I appreciate you for joining tonight. I look forward to connecting with you next week. And until then, please remain safe, remain blessed. Let's go get it, man.